It's insane how cold it is on this sunny day. Trying to get myself warmed up and ready to go. Today is a nice day, even though how frigid and cold it might be and how long of a route I have to take to see my good friend Dylan. We decided to go to this fancy, nice restaurant, but man, sometimes the most beautiful places are in the most craziest locations. Doing my best not to get killed or not to be confronted by anyone crazy. And the best thing to do is just to relax and to act like you know nothing. The best way to survive is just to be invisible. And I sometimes am way too good at that.
The life of an artist is hard. You spend your life thinking you'll make a living selling your art, and then you gotta take up a job as a teacher to pay the bills. I got an interesting call the other day from my good friend Oski, who was in the middle of an existential crisis after watching the 1981 film My Dinner with Andre. Oski asked if I could meet him for dinner at a nice restaurant to talk about it. So that's where I'm going now, even though it's cold outside, and I'd rather be inside gaming on my PS5.
Could not believe that I started crying while watching this 1981 classic. But man, something hit me in the heart when I heard the line, "But in my conscious opinion," which is so fundamental to my whole view of life. What does it mean? But that means it can change any time. So what's the point of having a conscious opinion? Sometimes I ask, what is feeling? What is being numb to a feeling? Dylan! Hey, bud!
Oski!
How's it going?
Good, how you been?
You look great.
Well, I feel terrible.
Hey, yo, this is the ODcast. Hey,
This is the ODcast, yo.
Nice table.
Yes.
Good service here. It's weird they make you open your own wine, though. Where's our waiter? He was here a minute ago. That's good. That is a nice wine.
Yeah, it is from France, so I thought it would be very nice to have from French wine at a French restaurant. That's BYOB.
Yeah, you don't really get the BYOB in French restaurants very often,
this
do
is
you?
this is a new DIY vibe area. Thank you so much for seeing me.
Of course, it's been so long.
I know that you heard that I've been a little bit distraught ever since I watched the movie, but before we talk about that, I wanted to ask you, how are you? How have you been?
Oh, I've just been living, trying to get through the winter, debating if I should move to a warmer climate, the dilemma of every northern state dweller.
Is this year being harder than before?
It does feel harder because I'm newly not numbed. My senses are heightened. And yeah.
It's funny because as one gets older, some of those common phrases really do hit hard. Like, oh, my bones feel cold. When I was young, I didn't care about that. I thought that was a very silly remark. But man, there are days where I do feel my bones being cold. Like no amount of blankets could resolve that.
Well, you should consider getting an electric blanket.
Yeah, electric blankets are nice, and it's a very nice convenience that will make your life better.
Speaking of electric blankets, a mutual friend of ours ran into you on the street recently. Is this true? You were crying in an alley about a particular movie?
Yeah, the movie's called My Dinner with Andre, and I was
I've seen that.
I was hoping we can have dinner and talk about that movie. Have you seen it?
Yeah, recently, actually. That's such a coincidence.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting movie, and there are moments where I disagree about some things of that movie, but I still can't look away. I don't regret watching it. It's a fun movie. But I would not say fun either, because you have to be in the right headspace to watch it.
Yeah, fun is an interesting word for a movie that's basically two men sitting at dinner, much like this, as a matter of fact.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah, and when you called me up to make this dinner date, you did mention wanting to talk about this movie, and I never even considered that we would basically be reenacting the movie. My dinner with Oski, my old pal, my old chum.
Feels nice. It feels nice to see you again.
You look great.
I feel terrible.
Really?
I feel terrible. I mean, I really don't like the holidays, and I'm glad the holidays are over. It's just there are moments of the holidays where you start contemplating life. Like, you ask yourself, where are you going? Like, what's going on? And, you know, it gets existential because you see the people you love getting older, and obviously you yourself is getting older. And I have to remind myself, I have to cherish these moments, because one of these days they're not going to be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I made a joke to a coworker of mine, and she's an elderly lady. She is a cancer survivor, and she said to me, you know, the little chit chat during work, how was the holidays? And I should have just said, hey, it was okay, it was great. But I was like, hey, it is what it is. It's a constant reminder that I'll be alone for the rest of my life. And she just looked at me and she was like, Oscar, why are you saying that? And I kind of like joked around. It was like, well, that's not your normal remark. Normally you should say something like, oh, Oscar, you're so silly. How about we do it back again? So that way, you know, she can do that laugh. And I made her do that, and she just started laughing. But it was a very like, okay, I get how funny this is, but I'm feeling very uncomfortable. And it doesn't help, or maybe it does help, that I saw this movie before the holidays started. So it kind of like it gave the surface of what my subconscious level was feeling at that moment.
Which the movie is set in wintertime in New York City. They don't say it's Christmas, but it feels bleak. It's wintry. Bleak.
It could be a New Year movie, you know?
It could be. I was, yeah. The fact that they don't mention any holidays makes it feel just kind of like February, January, maybe. Just the drudgery of a northern hemisphere winter.
And that's one thing I like about watching movies that old. It's a timestamp of that period. And it's also very flexible because, it was filmed in 1981. Yet the conversations that they brought up, I still feel like it's true to this day.
Absolutely. There were some parts that felt shockingly relevant to our daily life, and it makes you realize that people's struggles haven't changed all that much in 40,
not at all,
almost 50 years, 40 years.
Yeah. I did some quick research, and I found out that they're still alive. I thought one of them would be dead already. Yeah.
I did find, sadly, Andre's wife, Chiquita, who was mentioned in the movie, passed away in the early 90s.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I was sad too, because he speaks very lovingly of her in the movie, but were you put off at all by that one scene towards the end where he mentions, maybe it's not towards the end, towards the middle, where he's having an existential crisis imagining Chiquita getting old?
Yeah, was it the one he talks about how he went to Israel and he has this picture of her, and he's been seeing this picture for 20 years, and he finds her very attractive and all that stuff, but then for the first time he's opening his eyes and he sees that
She was very sad.
She's sad and very miserable. I don't know.
There was that part later, but there was also him having just like, it sounded like he was on a ayahuasca trip or something, having like, he was like howling in terror at just the idea of his life partner getting old. Well, he's also getting old, but it was the way he said that felt oddly misogynistic.
There are moments like it's very misogynistic that Andre says stuff, very quasi-racist, dare I say, some of his viewpoints. But most of all, the one that that aggravates me the most, very white privileged.
Yes.
Very white privileged. And I'm glad to see that Wallace doesn't, like, he knows that he's privileged in some ways, but he doesn't like bloat it, like talk about it and like brag about it. Because it's weird. Andre in this movie, I feel like he brags, like he's bragging a lot about his life, even though he's talking about how he is not happy with his life.
Andre is.
Yeah, Andre, yeah.
His character really troubled me because on the one hand, he's extremely confident, very articulate, and has kind of a smug way of saying things that he seems like he is content in his life, even though he's saying how miserable he's been and describing all these struggles. I came around to liking him as a person and a character.
So did I, but at the moments there's like, I can't deal with you. I can only take you in a certain, like Wallace, I can only enjoy you for certain moments. Because I do agree with him in the beginning where he did his best not to see him, to avoid him as much as possible. But one person can avoid another person for so much, right?
Yeah. Makes you wonder what prompted Wallace to finally meet Andre for dinner when he's been avoiding him, and there seems to be a good reason for that. Andre just has a monologue of stories for the first almost hour of the movie where Wallace barely gets a word in. He
carries that movie for a long time, and as an actor, it's very motivating. It's very, cool how he does it.
Andre?
Andre, yeah. How he can still grab your attention as a storyteller, and you as a viewer watching it, you're still looking at it and you're still listening, and it's he knows how to tell a story. There's many conspiracy theories about it, about why did Wallace want to see him. I strongly feel like Wallace was desperate, like he wanted to get some kind of work. And since Andre helped him before, maybe he was like, hey, this is maybe an opportunity for me to get a job or, showing something, He wasn't like saying per se that, oh, I'm like, that was his mission for this dinner. But it was like, hey, maybe this could come out. That's how I viewed it.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but I think you're right there, because he does mention how he's struggling to pay the bills, and Andre was his big connection in the theater. That reminds me, I did enjoy the movie for its peek into specifically the New York theater world, but just the theater culture in general, which is something I know nothing about really, but
Neither
I find
do
it fascinating.
Yeah, and this can go very parallel to your art specifically, but I do see that maybe theater, what it's trying to do is mirroring life. And when people know the theater is fake, they're doing their best to show real life so the viewer can be more in depth about their life and maybe be even have a life-changing moment. And sometimes it gets metaphysical because, during that part where Andre was talking about how he wants things to be more real because people are living in a dream world, he wanted to get a real head, decapitated head, and show it to, the audience because they wanted to show death is real. Like, we're talking about it in a theatrical play where everything is fake, but it's real. And the reason I'm bringing up your art is because I feel like it's mirroring your life. You know,
Sure.
where you bring up your subconscious level a lot and subconscious mind a lot and what it's trying to say. Like your recent one, where you what was the name of that that movie, James Cameron movie, the Abyss?
Oh, The Abyss.
Yeah, how you just used some ideas from that, but instead of using a robot, you wanted to use a baby. Are you trying to say that in the end, humans are turning into robots? Things like that, you know? And in the end, it's the perspective of the viewer, but you as the artist, I am very curious to know what made you lead into that kind of art.
I think art's kind of pointless unless it's brutally unfiltered and honest about what's going on in your life and in your head. I've never really connected much with art that's on a like more cerebral, conceptual level about like the meaning of an artwork. I want it to be visceral. I want it to be about like real shit. Pardon my French in this French restaurant. Merde.
Merde.
But what about you? Is the novel you're working on, is it autobiographical at all?
It's funny you say that because every writer says that every writer writes about themselves.
I think you kind of do, whether you intend to or not.
I do my best not to, but I do feel that there is a nice feeling of writing a character and kind of like you're playing God. You're doing whatever you want to do with this character.
Yeah.
And you making it do whatever you want, and it feels good. It's a nice feeling. And is it an egoism trip that I'm going through? I don't know. But it's definitely therapeutic. And I find it a good way to release some of your stress. And like recently, and I need to thank you for this. I've been working on doing oil on canvas art, and it is very stressful. But I also see the beauty of it, and I see why one can get addicted, and I see why you are very highly productive in your art. I will say that the biggest nuisance is waiting for it to dry.
It is, but I've turned a corner on that recently. In the last few years of oil painting, I've been getting impatient the same way you are, it sounds like, and wanting it to be dry faster so I can add other colors and layer over it. But I feel like that drying time is a blessing. It gives you like a pause button, and come back and we can work on a different painting for a while or work on a different part that's not wet. But I'm going to start like spacing out my sessions on a painting again the way I used to.
It's funny because now I'm starting to realize a different mindset, different views, different perspectives of how people work in general compared to a person that works on oil on canvas versus a person that works on acrylic on canvas.
What do you think the difference is? You mean like a personality difference?
The personality, yes. I think a person that fools around with oil is more. I'm generalizing, and I'm happy if you're willing to correct me on this or add more to it. A person that uses oil is more sincere, in tune with their feelings.
Wow. You're really going for it with these.
Patient and loves the detail of what they're creating or what they're discussing or what they're talking versus an acrylic painter. It has to be right the right time. If not, it's screwed up. Everything has to be correct. Mm-hmm. All these things, like a domino effect. Like if one thing doesn't work, everything else is going to be bad.
Yeah, I see where you might get that idea, but I've met and seen some great acrylic painters who like are very patient and very like genuine and in tune with themselves, and all the things you were saying about oil painters, especially now. I think acrylic is just as prevalent as oil. I always, whenever I hear this discussion of oil versus acrylic, I think of a joke my painting teacher in undergrad told me. He was this cranky Polish guy with, people said he had Tourette's because he would swear a lot. I don't know if he actually had Tourette's, but great guy. But he would tell this joke that was like, I only remember the punchline, but it was like people in hell or something, like hell for bad artists or bad painters. And like these two like people who've been sent to hell for being shitty artists are having a conversation on a bench in hell, and one says to the other, "Do you use oil or acrylic?" As if that's like the dumbest question to ask an artist. And I find myself asking it all the time when I'm teaching classes, because it's useful to know how to help someone. Is very different if you're using oil or acrylic. But I always, whenever I'm asking that question, I have Marian Kritschka, my professor's voice in the back of my head, and he's no longer alive, sadly. Ask with that joke that I can't even remember the joke. I just remember the fact that in his view, it's a dumb question.
Well, tell me more about this, Professor. Like how, I'm curious to know what happened.
Well, he got Parkinson's and really had a it felt swift, but over a few years, like a really rapid decline in health. And he was teaching at SAIC until the end, or near the end, and was like pretty immobilized. But I knew this guy since I was 16. I took like high school level art classes with him at Gallery 37 in the Loop. He taught there as well as the Art Institute.
There's this theory, and I know a lot of people use this theory in different, they explain it in different ways, but like basically, yeah, a person may have died physically, their like vessel is not here, their physical being is not here in this world, but a lot of things are still here because of that person, or still alive because of that person. May it be, memory, may it be a subjective object, or not, an object, may it be many things. So I wanted to ask you, do you feel like this person is still alive in you? Like from the things that he has shown you? Do you see some of his work or some of his passion in your art or in your way of thinking?
Yeah, definitely. I think like that joke I just told you is one small example, but I hear his voice a lot when I'm painting or teaching, because I was in his classes a lot. But you're getting into some deep metaphysical questions about the nature of souls. And
do you believe that?
I want to believe it.
Or is it just, just a thought, and then we practice that thought, and we hope to God that we put that thought to someone else in the future and they can do that, because we're all gonna go. Like it's just a traveling temporary phase.
Well, I definitely believe that's true, but whether or not there's some metaphysical thing in all of us that can exist after the body dies, I want to believe like all the ghost stories I've heard, like they're very compelling stories, and like I've had experiences too with loved ones who've passed away, and then you kind of like for a few weeks or days after you really feel them in things, and like in other like smell, hearing, like senses. You're not literally seeing a ghost in front of you, but I think there is some kind of energy that kind of lingers, but I don't think it's forever. I think it dissipates just like the body dissipates.
Well, I'm very curious. Do you want to share a story of how you felt? Like you felt something?
Yeah, I mean,
something
sure. Well, when my dad passed away, for a few weeks after my mom and my sister and me too would like hear footsteps around our house. I was still living at home at the time in 2012, and we would even smell like there was a point where we were smelling like really strong floral scents, like the kind you'd have in a crematorium or something, or a funeral home. Mm-hmm. And they'd just be out of nowhere. We didn't have flowers in the house. There would be no reason for this smell, like a perfumey smell. But it would just like, my mom experienced it the most times when she'd be like walking to the bathroom in the middle of the night and she would hear stuff or smell the flowers. And there's no rational explanation for that beyond my dad's spirit just like visiting in the night. But why I said it dissipates is because like none of us have really experienced much like that since 12, 13 years later. So it's another reason why I think haunted houses are a bit of a scam, in that a house like the Conjuring house might have a reputation for having a lot of paranormal activity, but that's centuries ago. And whatever ghosts are there, I don't think they have like, or were there, I don't think they have infinite energy to keep pushing books over, or the stuff you see YouTubers go on visits to like try to document. That's why a lot of those paranormal shows get very little evidence most of the time, which bums me out because I want to see some ghosts, and I'll still watch them occasionally, but I don't think there's that much that we can scientifically observe. It's maybe more just a feeling or something you sense with your own senses. Have you ever had any paranormal experiences?
Well, I have, but not in the extent of like having a paranormal experience of a loved one, which I will admit I do get jealous when I hear people sharing stories about how one has visited them, so to say. When I worked in the crematory, it was rumored that the place was haunted, and there were moments where I had to go to work at 2:00 in the morning to do the job, and the lights were still kind of on, kind of off, like not fully on. And I always feel tension at that place, like there's someone seeing me. And those things, I believe, like I never seen something, or sometimes a door's somewhat open and it just closes out of nowhere, and there's no grasp of wind. Everything is closed. There, like there's no form of air circulation for that to happen. Mm-hmm. Things like that scare me, obviously, but I have not seen a ghost. I have not seen a transparent being, I
don't know if I believe those even exist.
But I have, I can't recall a story, but I have seen things where like you see something and then you look somewhere else, or something happens and then they just disappear. Things like that has happened to me. Going back about loved ones, I had my grandfather passed away when I was young, and I have stories from other family members telling how they came into their dream. And I get jealous, because I'm like, hey, Grandpa, why haven't you visited me? Like, what did I do to not get any kind of love?
Which side of your parents is this?
My maternal side. So I hear my mom talking about how her grandpa visited her, and my mom doesn't have a good relationship with her father. In fact, to this day, she still has a little bit of angst and hatred. Hatred might be a strong word, but like she still renounces him. My cousins and I still talk about him in a good way. But I think I had a dream of him 12, 13 years after his passing. And I got sad, but I don't remember what it was. And it's funny because around that time, I decided maybe this is serious. Maybe this is baloney. I don't know, but I was curious, and I decided to use tarot cards to ask for advice. I was like, hey, Pops, why haven't you visited me? Why haven't you talked to me? What do I need to do in order to connect with you? And then the answer I got was, you need to be more religious. You need to be more spiritual. And
was your grandfather religious?
Yeah, he was a hardcore Catholic. He was a member of the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you know anything about the Anonymous group, there's a lot of religious roots.
Right, I've heard about that.
Yeah, so he was a very adamant about it and very into it, and he really believed in God and all of that. So maybe it was his way of saying, you need to believe in God, and then I will do my best to visit you. And the thing is, I do believe in God. It's just I don't have the same view as other people about God, going to church, the whole Christianity ideologies or anything like that,
Yeah.
So it gets complicated, and people really think I'm an atheist or agnostic because of that. But I do believe there is a God. I do believe there is something that created all of this. I do believe there is a creator. It's just that we as human beings do not have the conscious level to even grasp that. But I guess that's the beauty of human nature, to have those conversations so we can do our best to grasp it.
Yeah, I don't think I believe there's a God.
No?
And yeah, I feel weird even at saying that out loud, because I don't say that very often. I think a lot of people close to me in my life do believe there's something there, and I feel like I'm almost betraying them. But when you just said, like, I believe there's a God, I want to be there with you, but I just can't make that leap.
Is it something that, is there a doubt because of that? Like, what is your belief that there isn't one?
I guess it comes more from just lack of proof, lack of evidence that I can see, which, if the evolution of science and our history as a species has taught us anything, it's that even things we don't think are real now might very easily be provable in 50 years, 100 years. Like, we can't see electricity, but it sure is powering our entire world right now. And you tell people about what we have now 200 years ago, they would think it was magic and sorcery. So will there be some way to show the existence of some higher being? Or I get really stuck on the word being. I don't think whatever you could call God is one conscious entity. That just doesn't make sense. I think a consciousness is too fickle, for lack of a better word. It's just like our personalities, our brains. There's too much subjectivity there that I don't think a creator would be a being. I think it would just be like a force that runs through everything. And there's lots of those. There's dark matter and dark energy and things I've heard about in my astronomy class years ago that I still don't fully understand, but I know there's all these forces at work that we can't see, and maybe that's God. But as far as the traditional, like, monotheistic or even polytheistic models that we've had from religions over the millennia, I just can't buy into it. I'm sorry.
Are you one of those people who feel that you need to see it to believe it?
I guess so. I guess I am. Like, I always want to find out the answer for myself. Like, usually when people tell me something's, especially a far-fetched story or something, like, I have trouble believing it till I've done the research myself. But that calls into question where we get our research. It's all from the internet and Wikipedia, and who can trust anything? You can't trust anything you don't see with your own eyes.
I feel like that's all about believing your resource, your sources, and that could be just a conversation like you and me. And I think that's another reason why I appreciate this movie a lot, because our conversation is more how should I say, is more blunt of what we're talking about. While My Dinner with Andre is subtle, but they do have the same conversations we're having right now about life and death, and if there's a God, what is the meaning of life. But that's one thing I appreciate about that movie, is that they are checking all these conversations that normally like a really good conversation would be about, but also show frustrations of it, subtle frustrations. I do agree with Andre when he was saying that one of the things that he really enjoyed, like one of the most beautiful moments in his life, is that he experienced living for the first time, and he loved it. But realizing that living, like living, is also not only a realization but an acceptance that death is there, and Andre's likes to talk about nothing but death, and it just feared him. It even paralyzed him. And also there was another portion where they were talking about the universe, and like it's hard to understand what the universe is, and I feel like that was a portion of them trying to discuss what is God or any of that. Of course, they both make very good arguments. But in the end, I feel like what matters the most is the connection, the connectivity that we have. And sometimes
with other people,
with other people, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of those connections are flaws because they're not very sincere. Like, for example, do you connect more with do you connect more
I love
with
that transition. For example, you're very insincere.
No. Do you connect more with, like, going back to our conversation, do you connect more with artists that do oil or acrylic? And there's a portion that makes you want to say, back to that your professor's joke, it doesn't matter. It's all about the art. If you can connect with the art, period. That's what matters.
Yeah. I don't medium is kind of the last thing on my mind when I look at art nowadays. I went to some openings on Friday night for the first time in, it feels like years. I never go to art openings, but there were some shows I wanted to see, and I kind of forced myself out of the house in a snowstorm, light snow blizzard on Friday night. And I saw some art. We've been through
worse as Chicagoans. We've been through
for
worse.
Sure. But there were a lot of paintings. I went to like 4 or 5 different galleries. They're all in one strip of Chicago Avenue. And my favorite pieces were these ceramic plates with printed, like, art historical
really?
logos.
Out of all those stuff, that. Wow.
It's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a painter. I've never made ceramics in my life, but they tickled my funny bone. In a way that the other paintings, maybe because I'm a painter and I'm so used to seeing all the tricks and it doesn't impress me that much, but these plates were my favorite thing. So whether someone uses oil or not, like, if anything, seeing its oil makes me kind of less interested, because
you know the tricks. You know the tricks to everything.
Yeah, in a way. There's you rattled off many ideas that I wanted to pounce on, including from the movie about how the mortality makes life meaningful. I think that's very true, and you can see parallels in just when you have time off from work, which I feel very blessed to have a chunk of time off from work for the holidays and like summer vacations, because I work as a teacher. My life gets very mundane, and I struggle to find purpose in life when I don't have those classes to teach during the week. That kind of, in the moment, it's a struggle to get myself in the right mindset to be a teacher and do my job, and it's work, but it makes the rest of the time so much more meaningful, and I'm motivated to work on art and use the time wisely, because I know in a few more days I got to go back and work again. So the same way, having I guess this isn't a great metaphor, but a job to go to makes your weekends more pleasurable. Knowing that death is coming for all of us should ideally make life more pleasurable. But do you ever fantasize about having a just suddenly out of nowhere getting diagnosed with a terminal illness? Because I think about this a lot.
I do, but I don't glorify it.
Oh, I definitely don't glorify it.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of it.
Yeah.
And every little ailment I have, it crosses my mind like it could be cancer. It could be any of these things.
It's like a Russian roulette, but you're playing it with time. Like anything. It was like, well, today could be my last day. Even like just luck with living outside, just going outside of your house, knowing that you could die, you know? It is life is nothing but a roulette, and it could be something terminal by like a disease or a horrible accident.
Yeah, and I certainly, every time I get behind the wheel of a car, which is rare these days, I prefer the public transit because I don't have to feel like I could have a life-ending accident at any moment. But I do have those thoughts, but I feel like getting a diagnosis, say doctor tells you have 6 months to live, I think a lot about, would I even be able to enjoy anything in those 6 months knowing the end is so soon? It would be, and it's just like a thought experiment, I guess I play out in my head a lot because it's very possible. It happens to a lot of people, and my heart goes out to those people, especially if you're young and it's unexpected. And you get older, that time left gets shorter and shorter, and you start to think about it. And we all have to if you live a full natural life, you gradually, I guess, get accustomed to the fact that your time is ending. But hold on, I wanted to ask a question. Like, do you think how could you enjoy that if you had 6 months left? Do you think you'd be able to travel the world, do everything you wanted to do, and actually find genuine happiness in it, knowing there was... I mean, if you have 6 months, you probably feel pretty terrible as
Genuine happiness is the hardest thing to reach, even if you don't have a terminal illness.
Totally.
But having mortality as a fuel to your fire, will it make a person appreciate life more? Yeah. Will it make you will like food, for example? Like sometimes we're just accustomed to eating food, but sometimes we need to stop and just enjoy the food, you know, like enjoy the taste buds. I think we need to do the same about living life, because if not, what is the point? Like we're just being robots, which they mentioned that in the movie, being in a dreamlike state. And I think maybe having a terminal illness is an example, just a silly example, takes that that dreamlike state that we're in and just realize that, wow, life is a gift, and I am happy that I'm living it, and I'm going to cherish it even more because I know that it will be over. It's gonna be over. It's done. It's forever. But that is a hard question, and I don't know how to answer it. I mean, one can easily say, like, yeah, I'll do this, that, or that, but, like, nobody can really answer that until it happens.
I know.
You know, but I would do my best to enjoy things. But
yeah, you'd have to find the strength. If you, there's people I'm sure who will just shut down and be miserable for whatever time they have left, but it's the people who are strong enough to find joy in life still that I really respect that.
It reminds me of a movie I saw that, according to a lot of people, you know, they say it's life-changing. It is, but it's also depressing. It's a Japanese movie. I always pronounce his name wrong. Akira Kurosawa? Mm-hmm. I always say it's either Kurosawa or Kurosawa. I always pronounce it wrong, and I apologize for saying it if I'm saying it wrong. But one of my favorite movie that I've seen from him is called Ikiru. Have you seen it?
No.
So it's basically what we're talking about. This guy, he's been working all his life, working for like the city municipality, like the park district or something, right? Finds out that he has cancer. He's got 6 months to live. And everyone around him doesn't love him because he's just dedicated to work. But now that he knows that he's gonna die, he's like, I gotta have meaning to my life. I want to talk to my loved one and tell them, hey, I'm dying, I got cancer. But they don't care because they had no connection. So during this time, there was a group of people trying to make like complaints and grievances that a certain place of the city needs to be cleaned, and they were saying that it should be a park. It's just everything is not up to code. So he said, you know what? I'm going to dedicate these next 6 months of my life to have meaning into my life. I'm going to clean that park. Normally we don't clean it up because all these loopholes that happen in city municipalities, like, oh, you need to have this permit, you need to have that in order for this to happen, blah, blah, blah. He was like, you know what? I'm cutting the fat off. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen. He makes it happen. And then he finds out, and then the people around him, his coworkers, find out, oh my goodness, he did this knowing that he's dying. It's like, oh my God, we need to use him as a role model that we can change. We can make things better. We can do all these great things. But what happens? The guy died. His boss takes the credit for his work. And the coworker's like, we're going to change the system. We're going to change the system. Couple days later, going back to work, those same people who says they're going to change the system, they don't do anything because the system is way too strong. So this movie that is talking about personal achievements, and it ends up about social heaviness. How you want to do things, but we just can't because of society just, putting the weight on us. And it's hard to change the system, hard to change the machine when we are part of the machine. How can we change the machine when we are part of it?
Yeah, that's, I guess, why people get involved in politics and try to hold positions of power, because you have the most chance of making a change in this huge system. But there's so many interconnected systems beyond government. It's corporate America or corporations worldwide, and everything's so interconnected that one person has a very low impact unless you do something super radical. Not to condone someone like Luigi Mangione, but he's gotten the whole world talking about healthcare in a way that hasn't been this out in the open in a long time. And yeah.
And it makes one wonder, will the actions like Luigi, will it be just a domino effect, or is it going to stop? And the anxiety is up in the air because people don't know. Because we are realizing the quick aftermath of Luigi. This happened 7-8 weeks ago, give or take?
Something like that.
So we don't know what's going to happen, but that anxiety is in the air.
Yeah, and I don't want to live in a world or a country where people are getting assassinated in the streets regularly. That's not a solution. But when you have a symbolic act like that, maybe that's all it takes, and maybe there will be change. But like I said, there's so many systems at work, so many people's lives built around a system that we have that aren't going to give it up willingly. Real change would take everyone just accepting that nothing's going to be the same, and you might lose everything you have. And most people aren't willing to do that. We're clinging, just like Wallace clings to his electric blanket in My Dinner with Andre. We're clinging to the way of life that we've had and we've known and we're comfortable in. If you are lucky enough to be comfortable in this life, which a lot of people aren't.
See, that's one of the problems I have with that movie. In the end, yeah, I do like Andre, but there's a lot of hypocrisy coming from his mouth. How dare he say that he cannot trust an electric blanket because, you're getting comfortable, and comfortable is your biggest enemy. And I get that. I really do understand that, because sometimes you got to put fuel in your fire. Yeah. But for a person like Wallace, where he's getting beaten up by society, he's just trying to survive. And he just wants a little bit of comfort, a little bit of convenience. That warmth is great for him. And for Andre to say, I can't do that because it's comforting and I can't do that's against my myself, my whole being, shows how hypocrite he is, because he is a person who is in a higher middle class, or maybe like higher class. Obviously, your whole life is nothing but comfort. You have nothing to worry about. All these worries that you have is because of your own thoughts. You don't have to worry like Wallace, where he's struggling just to see if he can pay rent. You know, he has nothing to worry about that. And to say, hey, comfort is what kills you. It's like, dude, you're the one who's living comfortable all your life. You choose to live a life of poverty so you can feel something.
I mean, part of why it's an interesting movie is because the two of them aren't that far apart in social class. They're both, like you were saying earlier, they're both in very privileged positions, living in New York and in the theater and acting business. Andre's just a little bit up the ladder, but he's also about 10 years older or more established. But I wouldn't be surprised if they both came from money, because in the intro, Wallace is talking about how as a kid he was an aristocrat riding around in taxis.
Yeah, when he was 10 years old, and the only thing he worried about was money, art, and music. Yeah. Now he's 36.
And all he thinks about is money. But he could probably fall back and move back in with his parents, who are probably still in Manhattan, or maybe they've moved up to Connecticut or something. Yeah. But he's not really struggling the way a lot of other people are struggling, the majority. So they're both privileged, and they just have very different outlooks on what it means to seek comfort. And the part with the electric blanket, I support. I loved Wallace sticking by his guns and saying, like, I'm not giving up my electric blanket because it's cold. My apartment's cold in the winter.
I'm Team Wallace.
I am too, but I also see Andre's point, because it's a slippery slope from an electric blanket to all the many things we have at our disposal now to give ourselves like a false sense of comfort. Like, I'm thinking about drugs and alcohol, like, makes you feel warm inside. And if you're cold and depressed, like cold emotionally, it can feel like the solution, but it does numb you to the world, and it's not a solution. Because, and like a little bit of reality, even if that reality is cold and unforgiving and depressing, it leaves you open at least to appreciate real happiness and real motivation. So I think the electric blanket thing is just a metaphor, but the idea of comfort being an enemy is actually, I actually agree with that.
I agree with it, but I don't deny Wallace's right of having that electric blanket.
No, of course not, because it's such an innocent thing, and you're not gonna get physically dependent and life spiral out of control because you're addicted to your electric blanket. Mm-hmm. But that's happened to other people with other substances, and they're all seeking comfort too, and they're taking an easy route to get that feeling of comfort. And it does cut you off from the world, and not in a good way. But what is good, really? I keep having this mental image in my mind lately where I imagine us as humans as just like rats in a terrarium.
Just not rats in a cage?
Pretty much a cage. Mm-hmm. But like,
are you in rage?
Sometimes, but more just fascinated by human nature and the fact that we're just rats. We just have a lot of systems in place around our rat behavior, but at the end of the day, we're just these beings acting on instinct. And yeah. Anyway.
Do you want some more wine?
Well, I still haven't emptied my glass, but maybe a bathroom break.
Say when.
That's good.
I also appreciate in the movie that George is calling Andre out for his like I feel like sometimes there's moments where Andre's naive. Wallace. Wallace is naive. That Andre's naive. Like when Wallace basically says, like, dude, like things happen when it happens. When it's a coincidence, it could be a coincidence, but I don't think you should view life that this happened because it's a sign for you. No, it's just things in life happens, just a bunch of coincidences, and we cannot predict what's going to happen. And sometimes I wonder if there is even the future already been written on us. Because, it talks about the fortune cookie. And I love the subtle jab on him. It's like, dude, shut up. You're being egotistical. You're looking this viewpoint in life, in this world, that it only revolves around you and you only, when there's other people in this life living. So you can't stop thinking that it's just you.
Yeah, I love that part too about that was at the end, right? Wallace is arguing that it's
about
like,
3/4 of the way, yeah.
I liked when Wallace started growing a spine and pushing back a lot.
And you can tell that growing his spine. You can tell that he's even changing his tone of voice. Like he's like, all right, dude, you brought me here. I'm going to talk. You kind of like I'm being impatient with your tomfoolery.
Speaking about their dynamic, their relationship, I gotta commend them for their acting, both of them. And it's a very weird form of acting because they're essentially both playing themselves and having what feels like a real conversation. But Wallace, like Andre, I found him, like we were already saying, he's kind of pretentious, and there's something that feels like he's acting even at dinner, but that felt appropriate for the character. But Wallace felt very like he was just a real guy.
Yeah.
And he says like a lot in the movie, like especially when he's finally talking, and that felt very natural to me too. Like he's hesitantly trying to piece his words together because he doesn't want to embarrass himself in front of this former mentor figure. But other than that, it almost is the original podcast. And I've seen people online also comparing it to a podcast.
I do see that. It is a trendsetter, to say the least.
But there aren't any other movies like it that I can think of that are entirely one conversation.
One conversation, no, but it did inspire many movies like that Jim Jarmusch movie, Coffee and Cigarettes.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's just basically a bunch of actors talking and they're having a conversation like us while smoking, and coffee. But it's just like it's like a bunch of short films into one,
Have you seen Richard Linklater's Before Sunset, Before Sunrise?
Oh, I've been wanting to.
You should definitely watch them. And it's kind of like this too. The whole movie is a conversation, but it follows two people on like kind of a night out in Paris. So there's a lot more action involved, but it is like a 2-hour conversation.
Those are the kind of movies where like I need to be emotionally ready to watch, because I've been told they're rough. The same thing with Blue Valentine. Is that what it's called? The one with Ryan Gosling?
Yes. Yeah. I definitely saw that movie and I remember liking it, and I can't remember a thing about it, which is a common trend for me. What is it about? I forget. You haven't seen it,
no,
but you've heard good things.
I heard good things.
But it's not a dialogue-based movie. It's more like a crime thriller, isn't it?
No, I think it's about love. That's why.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I remember the movie.
Yeah. But I do want to mention this, like, because we were going back about, the whole conversation about time and all of that, and also being reliable about drugs or alcohol and being in a dream state. We kind of like touch a little bit of parts of it, but like I'm having this existential crisis. Oh, we were talking about comfort. Is comfort good or bad? But I'm having an existential crisis of comfort regarding playing video games. I don't own a video game console, and I'm still debating if I should get one or not. And I'm asking friends about that, and it's like, yeah, and they're the ones who have video game consoles. But I feel like I shouldn't get one because it's just a time waster, and I'm thinking about, like, what should I do with my time? But I also need to learn. Like, that's where, like, I'm debating, like, should I stop? How can I stop thinking that way? Like, when...
Ooh, this is a juicy topic.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
How can one stop thinking that way when sometimes video games is a good way to unwind, de-stress, like the best way to fight the next day, because that current day is already hard as it is.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like in some ways the video games is the new addiction, the new drug, and it's the new enabled way to go to that dream world, that dream state, to be robotic. How can one be human while still being using those things as drugs, you know?
Yeah, accessing the dream
escapism is a big
form
issue.
of escapism.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean,
but you're also contradicting yourself because you're saying comfort is a bad thing.
You're right.
Yeah.
But video games oftentimes don't offer a perfect vision of comfort. There are games like that, but even then, like the just idea of a game is that it's a challenge. You're trying to surmount obstacles, and they're artificial virtual obstacles, but it triggers a different part of your brain, which is more like just solving a problem in life. And when I was kicking my kratom habit, I could not play a video game because it was too hard. It was like life. Video games are a lot like life, but they're simulated. But they require you to surmount obstacles. And so it's a different form of entertainment or comfort than like watching a movie or a show, which is passive. Like you have to interact and you have to press the buttons at the right time or you die and you have to start over. And there's frustration involved in a lot of video games that gives you like a hit of dopamine when you finally beat the boss or do the thing. That being said, they can definitely take over your life if you got nothing else going on that interests you. But if you have a healthy range of other activities and habits, I think it's just another really fascinating art form that's in its like you can't call it its prime because we don't in 50 years video games will be totally different and they'll be virtual reality and fully all encompassing, and it'll be like nothing like the screens we look at today.
Well, which is scary because
but exciting.
And exciting, but I find it scary because that cloud of reality versus a simulation is becoming less and less of a cloud and more transparent. And how the future can be, will be hard to define what is real and what is not. Like, you know, we're talking about artificial intelligence in our prior conversations, and it's as time goes by, it's getting more and more realistic. And video games is going to get more and more realistic, which is great. But at the same time, people are going to realize that sometimes living in the simulation is better than living in real life.
It's just like laying under your electric blanket is better than being out in the cold. Like, who's to say that real life is objectively more meaningful or better? Obviously, there are things in real life, and like you mentioned, connection is a huge part of being human and having a sustainable life is like connecting with people. But if you choose to spend all your free time escaping the real life,
that's a problem right there.
Is it? Or is it just another way to use the life you have? Like some people spend their life jumping off of cliffs and thrill seeking, and others play video games.
Let me ask you the same question you asked me earlier. What would you do if you knew you had 6 months to live?
Probably make up a bucket list and try to do as many of the things I've wanted to do but never did.
How would you feel like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you just wanted to play video games? Would that...
I probably wouldn't spend too much of the time I have left just playing video games, but I would probably play some games because I enjoy them. And I'm as an artist, I'm like fascinated by the craft and the artwork that goes into games. And they've got everything. They have sound. They're like movies that they're interactive. They have really good acting and performances now in games. Like if you do get a new console, you're going to be blown away by just the quality of cutscenes now. They're like watching a movie and you don't want to skip them.
I want to change the subject a little bit. This could be a little bit Freudian in my relationship with video game consoles, but I remember, and maybe I'm being spoiled. I feel weird saying this, but
you grew up playing a friend's Xbox, didn't you, or a cousin or something? No. Is that where you're going?
No, well, kind of. You're talking about the Zelda video game. No, so my first game console was Nintendo.
Which one?
Not Super Nintendo, the original Nintendo. NES.
Weren't those out of...
NES.
Those were... Okay. Weren't you like a baby when those were actually new?
I was a wee lad. But I had that. That was my first game console, and I loved it so much. I had so much fun with it. I brought it to Mexico, played it with my cousins. My mom pressured me to give it to my cousins, even though I didn't want it, because it was my game. It was mine. And she said, don't worry about it. I'll get you a new one. We go over there. She didn't buy me a new one.
Wow.
But the game's not. The story's not over. 2-3 years later, after I saw my cousins again, and I said, "Hey, what happened to that game console?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I traded it for the stereo." It broke my heart. It broke my heart. Thinking to myself, like, dude, that was my love, and now you just traded it like something else, like some cattle, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was what I wanted, and then I bet you that stereo. He doesn't even have it now. He threw it away.
Oh, yeah. It was probably, a 90s stereo?
Yeah, it was a 90s stereo with a boom, like extra bass and all that stuff. So
but in fairness, your Nintendo probably wouldn't be active anymore either.
I don't know, but I really love that thing. And this is where I think I might be spoiled, because my mom didn't buy me a Nintendo afterwards. She did buy me, or I got gifted a Sega Genesis.
Okay.
So, but
that's
for
something.
so that's an upgrade. But for some reason, I'm thinking to myself, I still want that Nintendo. Like, if my relationship with a video game console was much more positive, would my viewpoint of video game consoles be different now?
It might be, but you're an adult now. You would buy your own console.
Yeah, I'll buy my own. I don't have to give it to anyone else.
Yeah, and there's a beauty in that, even though video games, when I was growing up, they were considered the most juvenile thing. Only kids and degenerates still played video games into adulthood. But now it's really changing, because all the people who grew up with video games in the 80s and 90s are middle-aged and still like video games. And it's only people who grew up even before that who think they're a waste of time. I saw a funny podcast of, Steve-O from Jackass.
Yeah.
He went on Danny Brown's podcast, the rapper, and Danny Brown's a huge gamer. And he tried to ask Steve-O a question like, what do you think of the game of the year of 2014? And Steve-O went on this rant that was so out of touch and so narrow-minded about what video games are, where he was like kind of saying some of the things you just said about them being a waste of time, and but he was very abrasive in the way he said it, and like different strokes for different folks. Steve-O's obviously like an adrenaline junkie in real life and does crazy stuff all the time, so that's his choice, but I don't want to set my pubic hair on fire or whatever Steve-O does. Like on Jackass, I'd rather play a game. And but yeah, I think there's something really healing about getting back into a childhood hobby as an adult, and you should give it a try. You might really find you enjoy it.
I think one of the problems that My Dinner with Andre has, that we now, as our friends or just people in society in this generation, have, that is resolving compared to what that generation in My Dinner with Andre is. We are trying to figure out how to make our inner child happy.
You don't think in the late 70s they were thinking about that?
Well, I'm talking about that movie. I think they were not thinking about their inner children, their inner child. They were just talking about, oh, I need to give purpose in my life, so I need to be an adrenaline junkie by burying myself alive. And Wally was like, dude, I'm just happy with reading a book.
Yeah, I loved Wally's story about reading Charlton Heston's biography and being home with his girlfriend Debbie, and that's the most comfort. That's the happiest he could ever be in life.
Again, the beauty of that movie is the subtle art, the subtle conversations, because he never says it bluntly or anything, but I do feel from Andre being like an adrenaline junkie without saying it, because he is like doing all these crazy things.
He is.
I feel, again, I have a strong thought that he might have cheated on his wife.
Yeah, especially out in that weird Polish commune of hippies in the forest. Not Polish, but I forget where.
It was Polish.
Oh,
it was
okay.
either Poland or India, but I think it was Poland.
He seems like someone committed to living this free spirit lifestyle of not, at least at that time.
Yeah.
He's a very weird character, and I wonder how much of the real Andre Gregory is in that character, if those are 100% real stories or if they were fabricated. I'm fascinated by the craft of this movie, so I'm glad you brought up like the artfulness of the film, because I wonder how they wrote it. What I read on Wikipedia is that Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory each wrote like stories they were going to tell, and then they kind of honed it from there. But it feels so organic. Like, it feels improvised at times, but everything I could read online says it's scripted.
Yeah. And from what I've been told, is like, as they were writing the script, they had conversations on the phone or in person like 3 times a week.
Okay.
Basically just talking, and they record their conversations.
It's so crazy.
And they just edit out what's good and what's bad. So originally, the movie was going to last 3 hours long, and that's where the director came out and is like, we gotta cut the fat. And I'm glad that happened, because as much as this movie has a lot of meat, thinking to myself that this movie would be 3 hours long, I don't know if I could sit through that, because like,
definitely,
as a viewer, you do have to have a different mind perspective to watch this movie. You have to get ready to watch this movie. It's not like an action film where you can just shut your mind. You just have to like sit down and listen, which is a different, like you're opening different brain channels.
Yeah, I think I told you the other day that I had a hot take about this movie when we were making our plans to have dinner and discuss it.
Yes.
I did not like the movie when I just sat down and watched it all the way through. I found it tedious. I found Andre insufferable. And it wasn't until I watched it a second time and kind of treated it like I would a podcast today and put it on the background. And I was painting and just listened, and I kind of had it on my iPad next to the easel. So I was watching it too. And I stopped a couple times to like take note of things that I liked visually. But I was just listening to the conversation in a way that I would a podcast, and I liked it so much more. And it was a really interesting experience of like podcast, but artificial and scripted. It's like an audio book of just dialogue. It kind of just went down a bit easier for me. as a podcast.
No, I agree with you there.
Have you tried it in the background, just listening to the conversation?
The first time I watched it, that's how I saw it. That's how I
okay.
did it. Like, I was just doing things around the room. Because I knew if I sat down and saw it, maybe it's just the ADHD in me. Like, I just cannot stand still. But now that I knew the literature of it, knowing and also getting ready to have this conversation with me, I sat down and saw it, and I appreciated it more. Like, because I see the subtle facial reactions between one person, the subtle voice, the timbre of people's voice, because they're acting right there. Like the part where Andre was talking about how it is to be cold, he started trembling his voice, and I was sold. Like he did it so well. I believed it, and also Wally's being impatient with him. From his fake laugh, just being polite to his like, dude, could you shut up? Like, you're living a great life and you're still finding ways to be miserable. And the biggest thing I love about that movie, there's a happy ending. Because, we're seeing this movie in the perspective of Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
He's a miserable guy in the beginning of the movie. He's talking about how just things are not going well with him. Like, he's good, like things are not horrible, but like he's struggling, he's surviving, he's struggling. And at the end of the movie, he doesn't say it, but you can say he's happier because he knows that guy, Andre, is more miserable than him, and he has more things that he can ever have compared to Wally. And Wallace is just happy with his electric blanket, while Andre has everything. He has money, he can go anywhere in the world, and he can still not find peace in his life.
Yeah, and it shocks me that someone as cultured and smart, like I think he's an intelligent man, but Andre can't see that for himself, that he'll never be happy if he's not happy now.
Yet he felt comfortable bragging, I know this guy. I know that guy. I met this guy at this place. I met that guy at this place. That place. I know so-and-so from this history because I read it a long time ago. I'm like, who are you trying to impress? Wallace knows who you are already, but you're still trying to impress him? Like, Wally's like, dude, calm down. Relax.
Yeah,
that's why I can see why Wally did not want to have a dinner with him, because it's like, dude, you suck a lot of my emotion. Like you're a mental vampire, emotional vampire.
Yeah, there are people like that in this world who drain your energy. And it's funny that I could identify with both Wallace and Andre at different parts of the conversation. At first, just watching Wallace, listening, honestly, watching the movie was very therapeutic for me in accepting the facial tics and like nonverbal cues I'll give someone in a conversation are totally normal and just part of being human and socializing. Because I always feel awkward like trying to like continue a conversation, ask a question or nod at the right time. Like, I'm very self-conscious in these things, and watching Wallace acting incredibly well, like all those little nonverbal nuances made me I just recognized a lot of myself in Wallace at that point in the first hour when he's just listening to Andre. But then towards the end, like I agree with a lot of Andre's points about the dangers of being overly comfortable and some of his other points too that are escaping me at the moment. But I feel like I've been on both sides of that conversation where maybe I'm not listening to the other person and I'm talking too much because I'm excited about this idea. And I'm a little out of touch with reality.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I think he is a huge portion of the movie. He's kind of like the unsung hero.
Yeah.
What do you think of the waiter?
I was fascinated by him enough to Google him after I saw the movie and found out this was his first acting role, even though he was a lifelong like theater maybe a playwright or something involved with theater. But this was the first time he had been in a movie, and it's like his claim to fame. It's the first thing that comes up when you Google the actor. He was great. He was such an authentic, like, old world European guy who lived in New York, and I like that he kept silently judging Wallace. Did you notice that? All those little moments.
That, and also I felt like he was silently judging Andre too.
Yeah, kind of both of them.
Yeah.
But Andre, he accepted as kind of part of this elite world, and Wallace was kind of like, he didn't know what the items on the menu were. He didn't understand the French or whatever.
But I also felt like the waiter was like a huge metaphor of the working class, because like I don't see him living in a mansion right after he finished working his job. I think he just goes back to his little apartment in New York. Mm-hmm. But he knows how to say those fancy words in that menu correctly because that's part of his job. So he needs to convince people like Andre that he's just as fancy. But in reality, I feel like he is just struggling, surviving just as much as Wallace, if not struggling even more. Because you can tell from those wrinkles in his face that he has seen a thing or two. And I feel like those moments where he's judging them, like he doesn't say he's judging them or nothing, but just the facial reactions. It's the waiter basically saying, you don't know nothing. You don't know life. Like you didn't experience what I suffered. And here you are talking about suffering. You have no right to talk about what you're talking about. But I have to shut my mouth because I am working here. Like, who are you to say that? Who are you to talk about suffering? You don't know what suffering is. And that's what I see from this waiter's interactions.
That's why the movie's pretty brilliant in its juxtaposition of those two social classes in such a understated way. You just see the waiter kind of giving them the stink eye over Andre's shoulder at one point. He's like at the busing station just doing something, and he's like
smoking a cigarette.
No, I don't think he's smoking.
The waiter? At the end? At the end,
yes. Oh, at the end.
Yeah.
I missed that part. But he's just kind of glancing up at them. And I wonder how much of that was scripted out and done intentionally, or if it was just an organic moment of him looking up at the main actors at their table. But yeah, great character. I would be remiss if I didn't tell my one Wallace Shawn story.
Please do tell.
I think I was breathing the same air as Wallace Shawn at one point in my early life. I went on a trip to New York with my dad, like the summer I graduated high school. I forget the reason for the trip. I think he might have just wanted me, because I was going to art school in the fall, he wanted me to see like MoMA and the Met and all the arts in New York, because I'd never seen that stuff. So we went to the Met one day, and my dad is really excited. He whispers to me, "That's Wallace Shawn." And I had not seen any Wallace Shawn movies at the time. And I like looked around. I didn't know really who he was talking about. It was a crowded gallery. And it wasn't until I think we got home that he showed me My Dinner with Andre, because he like really liked the movie and showed me the whole thing. And I really liked the movie back then, and I was like 18 years old. So I know it's a movie that transcends its time and even demographics. Like, it was a good movie. But watching it again now as an adult, like I get it a lot more, but also I have a little less patience for some of the pretentiousness of Andre. But like, it's of its time. Like I said, it feels very contemporary even now.
Do you was this movie emotionally hard for you to watch because it reminded you of your dad?
No, it didn't make it hard. If anything, it was like kind of little like comforting feeling to like connect with something that I know he connected with. And now I'm wearing his suit jacket. Sports coat.
I think
so are you.
Yes. I think
I loaned you this for our fancy dinner.
I think your father, if he was alive today, he would enjoy the podcast life. He would enjoy. He would be.
He would be listening to a bunch of podcasts.
Oh, big time.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
I mean, podcasts were a thing when he was still alive, but I think they were very early on, and I don't remember him ever saying he listened to a podcast. But yeah, I just think it's funny how so much of our species is now engaged in this weird act of listening to other people's conversations while we do things, while we go about our lives. Like it's a normal thing now to put on a podcast and hear total strangers having a conversation. And I've heard both sides of this argument that it's a terrible thing for our species and our mental health and our ability to connect, that we're just like voyeuristically listening to conversation. But it's clearly doing something for us as beings. Like we enjoy the parasocial dynamic of like listening to people talk in the right context, if you like the conversation, like the people and all that. But it's so funny that it wasn't a thing 15, 20 years ago. And now it's so prevalent that the point where like every C-list celebrity you can think of is starting a podcast on YouTube, and some of them are terrible. I don't know who's watching all these, but yeah, it's just interesting. And this movie's sort of, like we said, like a prototype podcast, except it was a film. It was scripted. So yeah, that's all I had. Do you have any thoughts on that, on podcasting? Is it a bad thing or a good thing for humanity?
I think it's both, but in the end, it's helping a lot. It's educating a lot. And going back to the movie, I believe that Wallace is right. We as humans, it's our human nature to do something. We can still do stuff, and we have learned to multitask. And I know psychologically speaking, there's arguments about people saying that we humans cannot multitask. We can only do a certain amount of things at a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. Yet it still goes with the same argument that we are designed to do things. We want to do things. We have to do things. We can't stay still. It's in our nature to work. But the question is, what is it that we're working? And if someone wants to listen to a podcast while doing art, or just listen to a podcast period because they want to learn something new, or just want to unwind, or to shut their brain off because they've been through a lot in their life, it's fine. And I think it's a good thing that we can do that, and it's a good medium in podcasting that we can have that. Because we have noticed, like you said, different strokes for different folks. Many people have different pleasures. And the beauty of podcasting is there's so much out there. From video games to gardening to agriculture to history to, gossiping, people talking about, I have fornicated with a certain someone yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to say some juicy stuff to
is that,
NPR, talking about Pakistani pots and pans that they found 700 years ago, so that's the beauty of podcasting. We can talk about that.
Yeah,
and it's on our fingertips. It's in our fingertips.
Almost too much. There's too much at our fingertips.
That's exactly. I agree with that, and that I think there's a beauty of limiting yourself, or a beauty of saying, okay, I'm gonna stop here. Like I'm recently getting into. I mean, I don't think I'm a huge reader, but I do like to read, and I'm recently getting into the habit of reading. Mm-hmm. And reading can be very therapeutic, just shutting everything down and just look at yourself in this book and just read and concentrate on this book. And your imagination does wonders. It reminds me of what's the name of that famous director, famous documentary director. He did Civil War. He did the baseball documentary. It's in WTTW.
Oh, Ken Burns.
Ken Burns, thank you. I saw a documentary about Ken Burns about the radio, about AM versus FM. Very good, highly suggested. They were talking about how a kid was talking, what does he prefer, television or radio? And he says radio because the images are more clear. And that really hit because
Wow.
people forget their imagination, and you need to go back into your imagination and let your imagination do its work.
Yeah. My mind went to a place that I think would be interesting to talk about, but we're in public. I don't think I should say it.
Okay.
But yeah, the imagination often better than looking at the magazine, you could say. Well, I don't know when our server's coming back, but they haven't even taken our order. Besides,
I think they're coming right here. Let's.
But we haven't even ordered food. Are we just going to get wine and
we'll
leave?
Just get wine. I think we're good with wine.
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten.
We'll go somewhere else.
What are you doing? Let me get it.
No, let's split it. Let's split it.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a Velcro wallet, so everyone knows when I'm opening up my wallet. How much?
I got cash.
Me too. I'll get the tip.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Keep the change, buddy. Thank you so much for your service. You ready to go? We haven't finished our wine. Come on, chug it for the road.
Chug it for the road.
How are you getting home?
I think I'm gonna go a taxi. How about you?
You know, a taxi sounds good. Let's
Wanna
treat
split it?
ourselves. I'm going uptown. Which way are you going?
I'm going uptown too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I live in
All
Rogers
right.
Park.
I thought Rogers Park was in Chicago. I'm going to the Upper East Side.
Oh, you're from New York.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So I'm going
Well,
along.
that's where we are. Did you forget?
I'm going to Long Island. Sorry.
Oh, you're one of those bridge and tunnel crowd people.
Yeah, I guess it's a long ride for me. 2 hours or so.
Well, we better get going.
That was great.
We are taking tips. Hello, patrons of the restaurant. Tips are appreciated. We take Venmo, PayPal. What else? Zelle. Ask me for my Zelle.